And APB, American Protection Bureau, voted #1 best on Long Island for all your security needs. Call 631-390-9050. That's 631-390-9050. APB.
Eric, the one thing I always think about you is, again, we were WWE guys up here in New York, and then WCCW with the Von Erichs was a huge deal. But I always remember you as that transition guy that, went to USWA. But first I wanted to ask you, did you see the Iron Claw? And if you did, what were your thoughts of it?
Bits and pieces of it. I couldn't sit down and watch the whole thing because the bits and pieces I've watched were so untruthful. Hollywood made another movie is what that boils down to. Now,
what pissed you off about it? Can you?
It wasn't a true story. I was there with those boys for a long time, and I ran that office. I worked with Fritz. And Fritz wasn't that old mean crabby motherfucker that mistreated his kids. Okay. He was not that way. And the only way those kids was mistreated is he gave them every and anything they wanted. And the boys certainly did not appreciate it. And I pulled Kerry out a little bit from that equation because Kerry and I got along, and Kerry was more understanding the difference between good and bad, so to speak. And Kerry's boat got overloaded, and he checked out, which, I don't know if a lot of people could go through what that guy went through and not check out. But
was it just too much fame? I mean, you're telling me that, from what you knew of him, he really had his stuff together. What made it go wrong for him?
Too much shit, too much drugs. The drugs, the demons, I call the drugs the demons. The demons had taken over the boy. He was riding the white horse high, and then when the kid hit the damn parked police car on his motorcycle and lost his foot, he still pulled it off. He come back and worked, and he had a little bit of a limp, but he could still perform. But the pain demons and the other demons and drugs were so rampant in world class that everybody's bag looked like they had a portable Walgreens drugstore in it.
Eric, why do you think Kevin always gets a pass though? You hear about Mike, Chris, David, Kerry, but Kevin always seems to get the pass. And
what do you mean? What do you mean getting the pass?
When they talk about the boys doing drugs, right? As a fan, you see Kevin as the more clean guy, but as you get to talk to more of the wrestlers, Kevin seems to have been just as bad, if not worse.
It's not worse.
Yeah, Eric, over the years, Kevin being the survivor, of course, of the family, to the fan, he was almost presented, Mike, back me if you can, almost like Derek Jeter to us as Yankee fans. Sure. He's Captain America. I've always felt the Von Erichs are the closest thing to the Dallas Cowboys. If wrestling has a great family,
they were.
Them.
They were.
Thank you.
They were. They were damn rock stars in Dallas market. They were. Any place they went, they had to mingle and sign autographs and were recognized. And the people were. Fritz had them over like gods to the fans in the world class wrestling area. They were over as much as Bruno was over in New York. Those boys were over, if not more over, in Dallas in that market.
Eric,
And
you said the drug scene was rampant in Texas. Was, the kids with the drugs in the Von Erich family, and Fritz was known for being strict. Obviously, not as strict as the movie portrayed, like you're saying. But isn't Fritz aware of the drug scene? Then he's got to be.
yeah, yeah. Now, when I got there, this had been going on a long time. David had already passed away, and from ODing in Japan. Intestinal whatever is a bullshit story. David OD'd in Japan, but when I got there, Fritz was older, and the word that comes to my mind of Fritz telling me, Eric, I am so burned out. I've had enough. I'm so burned out. Fritz told, when Jerry Jarrett came to Dallas to meet with Fritz to make the deal to buy the territory, Fritz told him, Jerry, and this is right from their mouth to me, no hearsay bullshit, okay? Jerry, if you make this deal, you are the dumbest person I've ever met in my whole life. You need to get back to the airport, get on a plane, and go back to Tennessee. My boys are nothing but drug heads. They'll never be anything but drug heads, and you need to just go home. But Fritz, he was burned out. He was tired. He'd been worried to death. My God, he'd lost these kids, and I pray to God I never go through half of what that man went through. But he was so burned out by then. About anything could happen. He had a deaf ear, and he was even having trouble at home with the wife and so forth. And I don't even want to get into that because I love.
I was going to ask you about that, Eric. Did the wife blame Fritz for the death of her children?
Not in front of me. She never did. No, but God, how do I say it without opening a can of worms? You hit the nail on the head somewhat by saying that.
Understood.
I got to ask you this too.
Wait a minute. But Fritz never ever did anything intentionally other than to try to help those boys, other than try to help them. And after you beat an old dog up so damn much, that dog's going to bite you, or he's just going to run away. And I really think that's probably what could happen. And I know Kevin is going to come fucking unglued when he sees this interview. But you know what, Kevin? I'm not bullshitting. I'm telling the truth. And I like you as much as you like me, which ain't very damn much. So, blah.
You're basically just telling us that Fritz became numb and indifferent and beaten down by a sport that he had put his life into, and he was comfortably done.
Yeah, he didn't know what else he did. He even told me one day, he said, I don't know what else I can do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And
I got to ask you this, though. When Jerry Jarrett did buy that territory, how much did he buy it for? And I got to agree, I was thinking to myself, why would this guy buy this territory?
He made a fortune.
Did he really?
Yes, God, we made some money, but I can't remember the whole.
Well, do me a favor. How do you make money? Right, the Von Erichs, they're all gone. There's nothing left. How were you able to turn that around then?
It was hard, brother. It was hard, but the initial money up front was hardly anything from Jarrett and Fritz. Jerry did, when Jerry came in, I remember the first days there, we're going through a stack of bills a foot high on the desk upstairs. And I'm wanting to think, and I know I'm not exactly right, but I'm not far off. Jerry paid about $130,000 in back bills. I know I went with Jerry over to Alfred or John. I can't remember the old man across the way there that owned the Sportatorium. And they were so far behind in rent, he was ready to kick them out. And he hadn't. Months behind in rent. And he didn't, because Fritz and him had been buddies, and Fritz had been so loyal to him, and vice versa over the years. And I told him, I think it was Alfred was his name. I said, Mr. Alfred, I said, how much do they owe? and it was right at $100,000 in back rent. And I said, well, this man here is going to take it over if we can work out a deal with you. And I said, he's going to write you a check. And I said, a good check, and pay all that back rent. But we need to work out a deal on upcoming rent. And he said, well, what's on your mind? And I said, we need a per ticket rent. So you're making money when we're making money. But if we're not making any money, we're not going broke paying you $2,000 a week in rent. And he said, well, that's fair. And it was his idea. He said, how about $1 a ticket? And I said, looked at Jerry, and he kind of grinned. I said, that's great. That's great. So we got the Sportatorium for $1 a ticket. And we agreed to start filming our Channel 11 TV at the Sportatorium on Saturday mornings for $1 a ticket. So the building was happy. They got their money that they were owed, and Jerry paid all the back bills and all that. And we took off. And, the syndication, hell, Jerry Jarrett even bailed the syndication guy, Max Andrews, out, loaned him $50,000. And I remember it was 50 because Jerry called me and asked me, Max wants to borrow $50,000 to stay in business, and he's our syndication guy. He's doing all the filming. What should I do? And I said, well, I think you should let him borrow it. If he says he'll pay you back, he's always been honest with me. So, Jerry probably went in $250,000 off, the initial startup costs.
I got to tell you, I'm amazed, Eric. I'm amazed that I would never have guessed that he made money off that deal.
Yeah. Well, I brought in some of my guys, so to speak, and we shot the angle, and I could read I could read people, and the without being ugly, but the people in Texas were burned out and tired of the Von Erichs. They wanted a new babyface to get behind. And so I'm thinking, okay, Al Perez. I'm thinking different thoughts. I called Jerry Jarrett, and he said, Eric, I thought you were smart. And I said, I am. And he said, you've got to have a babyface you can trust. He said, you can't trust the boys, talking about the Von Erichs. He said, they're not going to help you in any way. You can't trust them. And he said, you got to have a baby face you can trust. And I said, well, can I have Bill Dundee? And I'll bring him down here. He said, you got to have one you can trust. Who is the one person? Who's the one person that you can trust above anybody else on this world? I said, me. And I said, oh, no. I said, I am not putting myself on top and try to book through. He said, you have to. Jerry made me push myself. And then I started just reading between the lines with the fans, going out talking to them and stuff. And, I went in there as a is he or is he not gay heel when I first went to Dallas, to turning into a babyface that replaced the Von Erichs. Figure that one out.
Amazing. Listen, I want to close the subject, but
no, you don't.
Well, no. I have a few more things, but why do you and Kevin not get along?
Kevin blamed me for setting up the Jerry Jarrett deal, the original deal. And to be perfectly honest, I had no idea that Kerry was even talking to Jerry Jarrett behind the scenes. Kerry set up that deal with Jerry Jarrett and Fritz, not Eric. Kerry Von Erich set that deal up, but Kevin always blamed me for doing it. And instead of being, no matter who did it, instead of Kevin being happy that it was set up, because before long he started getting $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 checks every month on his ownership, and but he wasn't happy about it. He was mad because he didn't have control.